So, over the next 7 days, I think there's going to be a chance of snow for some areas that maybe haven't seen much snow. I'll tell you where it's been snowing like crazy: the Cascades, the mountains of Oregon, Washington, into the Intermountain West and the Rockies. But heading into next week, how about this? Maybe some snow in the east. Please don't get hung up and say, you said it was going to snow 2 feet of snow in northern parts of Pennsylvania. I'm not saying that. That's just one operational run. We're going to dive into some of the details as to why there could be a heavy dump of snow for somebody. Now, last night, these operational runs were showing a foot to 2 feet of snow across central Indiana. The fact that the models are picking up on the idea that this much snow could fall several days out always perks my attention, gets me looking at things, because something that's showing up this powerful needs to be looked at. So let's dive into where we are right now and why this is a complicated setup. I don't know that there's too many clear-cut setups. I mean, sometimes you know when somebody's going to get a thump of snow, but there's always the edges who could get ripped off. And maybe you know what I'm talking about. You live in one of those rip-off zones. And I got to tell you, when I was on TV doing forecasting like this, people get upset about their snow. So here's the situation. We've got this cold pocket of air here that's going to be dropping to the south as we head into the weekend, into the early part of next week. We've also got this system here to the south. This is going to move north through the plain states as we head toward Monday and Tuesday. And then here comes the second piece of energy back to the west. We're going to see a chunk of cold air break off in the mid and upper levels, and these two are going to kind of rotate around each other. And as that happens, we're going to see some of this ridging in the upper levels build back to the west. Now, we've got a big blocking pattern setting up over Greenland. This is a cold weather pattern across the east. It's going to stay stormy and wet across the west. I mean, we're talking about a lot of snow there too. We're going to talk about that in today's video too. But now, this is something that we've really not seen so far this season, and that's this chunk of cold air that gets broken off, so to speak, in the mid-levels. And it's just spinning like a bowling ball, if you will, through the atmosphere. And remember, the atmosphere is very fluid. So if you can imagine this circulating bowling ball of air moving through the atmosphere with lots of eddies, lots of different things coming together, and you can see why the models have a hard time picking up on exactly where these systems will go. It will be critical for the snow, and that's why I think I'm not going to throw my hat in the ring and say who's getting the snow just yet. I want to show you the potential. Here's what I'm feeling pretty confident about. As we move through the weekend, we've got this trough across the west, some snow showers here from the mountains of Idaho, Wyoming, into Montana, and another weak system here moving right along the U.S.-Canadian border. That's going to bring a little bit of light rain, maybe even some light snow here on the backside of it. Across the east, high pressure building in, so Saturday's looking pretty nice throughout the day. On the backside of this, some return flow, so we're getting temperatures warming up out ahead of this system. Across the far west, a big storm moving in here. That's going to bring some heavy rain and snow, which we're going to look at in detail in just a second. And then there comes that first system, right? Moving north, it taps into some Gulf moisture. That's going to bring a shield of rain, and it could be heavy at times, at least a steady rain on the north side of that as it moves north Tuesday into Wednesday. And then here comes our second piece of energy diving into the west. And we've also got another atmospheric river setting up here across the Pacific Northwest with more snow. There's your cold air, that upper level low swinging here through Iowa. You've got a surface low developing here, a cold front here now, rain changing to snow on the backside of it. And this right here could drop some heavy snow somewhere, especially if you get underneath that upper low. That's why you literally have heavy snow on the south side of this surface low, which would be here. Now you've got an occluded front. You've really got this storm wrapped up. Your upper low back here, which again is that cold pool of air aloft, and that's why the snow is literally south of the rain. Okay, so that's a very unique setup, and you can see how this is a very tricky forecast. The European kind of coming in line now with the GFS. If I had to tell you which way it was leaning, much colder solutions. Yesterday, the European was pretty much all rain. Today, certainly showing a little more snow mixing in with that upper low. So my confidence is growing just because you're starting to see the trend toward more snow. Let's start out west first. We're going to get in closer and a little more granular here as we move through the Saturday. There's that light snow here across the west, but man, the snow is going to pick up Saturday night into Sunday here in the British Columbia Mountains, down into the Cascades, and then into the Rockies, especially the Canadian Rockies. Heavy snow here. Snow levels go up at first, and then they come crashing down here in Oregon and Washington as we head into Sunday night, and the snow showers continue. That snow will be heavy with that onshore flow moving here into the mountains of Montana, Wyoming, eventually into Utah. Not as heavy, though, once the snow moves inland. And then a bit of a break, at least a small window here ahead of our next storm, and that will start to pick up on Tuesday into Wednesday with some onshore flow here, warm out ahead of the system, snow levels go up again, and then they'll come crashing back down behind this as this system moves off to the east. So pretty active across the west. We're talking about feet of snow here in the mountains through next Tuesday or so. And that's just through Tuesday. There's probably going to be more snow on the way after that. Across the Central Plains, there goes that low to the north here across the Canadian border. Some rain showers start to break out across Texas as we head into Monday morning early as that surface low develops. And then that moves north, bringing quite a bit of rain here on Tuesday into Wednesday. There comes the cool down Wednesday morning early into Thursday as that cold air rushes in behind our system and then pushes off to the east. There's the bowling ball of cold air spinning through Iowa, and then it moves to the east. So let's go ahead and talk about the east now. Over the weekend, we showed you high pressure keeping you dry. Here comes the rain, though, at least for parts of the Great Lakes area, Michigan, down to Ohio, Pennsylvania. Not a heavy rain event. There's not a lot of rain associated with that. I think we have to wait till the second system moves through. That's going to tap into more Atlantic moisture, some tropical moisture too. Maybe if we can pull some of that north. And here comes the problem with the snow, right? Is it going to be cold enough to see snow in the mountains? Maybe. And especially underneath this upper low, wherever this is, I think we get a heavy band of snow. It's something that I'm going to be tracking all week. It feels very consistent here on the models. Now, yesterday, placement was back here across Indiana. Today, maybe it's a little further to the north and east. The models are going to do this. They're going to waffle back and forth. So when someone comes and says, what changed? It's going to change. I promise you, tomorrow we will have a different operational run. We want to look at the trends, and the trends have been to show something here in the east. I'm going to go back 6 hours ago. I don't like the 6Z runs. That's the 6 Zulu time runs. And look, it looks a little bit different, right? But you still got a strong upper low with some snow into the mountains, into the northeast, into the Great Lakes. If you go back to last night's midnight run, you get this. Very similar look, maybe not as cold, but the snow placement. I mean, it's continuing to focus some heavy banding of snow here. And I would argue you might even get some heavier snow down into the mountains of West Virginia, maybe even parts of Southwest Virginia. I don't know if it gets down into the mountains of North Carolina, but maybe even parts of Kentucky and, dare I say, Tennessee could see some flakes with this. And it could be heavy too in some of these areas. So watch this through the week. The GFS, again, please don't look at these numbers and say 13.8 inches here, where we at, near State College, northern parts of Pennsylvania, almost 2 feet of snow. I wouldn't buy it because yesterday we had about almost, 1.5 2 foot of snow across Indianapolis. Today, barely a trace of snow. Let's go back 6 hours before that. So you see how it does shift and move and ebb and flow. But the idea is that the storm is still there. There's still a storm there. If you're hoping for snow, there's still hope and still a chance. I wouldn't say it's super likely at this point, but it's definitely looking more likely, I think, than maybe yesterday was looking. What happens after this, though? Well, I can tell you the Climate Prediction Center, the outlook for the next, 8 to 14 days was much colder here across the east. And this is one of the reasons why that upper low that's spinning through here, once that moves through, I think we warm up a little bit as we head toward the 26th and the 27th. But I think another shot of cool air moving down toward the Central Plains, and that moves east again. Does this cut off again? Some of the models are trying to do that. The European operational today said that's going to happen. I don't know if I buy it just yet. 12 hours ago, looked a little bit different. Still showing some cold air across the east. It's just November, guys. So if you're hoping for winter, meteorological winter officially begins December 1st. We've still got several weeks before winter officially begins. So a long way to go for you winter lovers. And this is definitely a different pattern than what we've seen lately. That's all I got. See you next time.